beating me, hurting me. And I was 5 or 6 at the time. That was really pretty heavy duty for me as a child. So I lived in fear, and none of the teachers seemed to care enough about what I was experiencing. So the reason I'm doing this video is I want people to start taking seriously how undermining and hurtful and shaming and painful it is for victims of bullying. Boys are bullied, girls are bullied, people are bullied who look different, who act different, who are overweight, underweight, too smart, not smart enough, whatever it is. People can pick on something. For me, I had curly hair, which was at that time not in. I want to say also something about the anti-Semitism of the 40s, because people don't talk about that much. But Jews were not allowed in colleges. They were not allowed in hospitals. And therefore, Jewish people created their own colleges and created their own hospitals. That's why a lot of the hospitals have Jewish-sounding names these days, and they include anybody who needs them. So there was a heavy, heavy dose of suffering in my life for a long time, and it isn't like I could just be homeschooled, because people weren't homeschooled back then. It wasn't like there were alternative schools or charter schools where I could go. There was one school, and it was a public school. And the purpose of the public school was to promote competition, shame, and an independence mentality. Like, you don't need anybody, and if you can't handle everything yourself, there's something wrong with you. Now, that negative vibration, that negative expression of what I was supposed to be, was horrifying for me. First of all, I lived in constant fear, and also the belief that at any point anybody could jump out from anywhere and beat me and hurt me, and I would have no recourse, because you couldn't say, this happened to me and I want it stopped. So I had to keep returning to school every day to this. That's a lot of years, probably 6 years worth of returning to school every day of the school year. That's a lot of years to put up with something. You also can become desperate, fearful, hypervigilant, and depressed. It's amazing that I survived that. I went on to go to college, get a degree in psychology. Maslow was my first psychology teacher. Went on to graduate school and got a PhD, and went on to teach college. And one of the things that we taught that I taught in college was raising nonviolent children, and the idea that male socialization in the way it's taught is very hierarchical, competitive, and ultimately results in lack of self-love and a need to project one's own self-hate onto others. So if we want to stop bullying, one of the things we have to do is start looking at how much is going on and why is it going on. There's hierarchical situations for boys, there's hierarchical situations for girls. There's hierarchical situations no matter what your gender, sexual orientation, or how you want to present yourself. Everything is about who's at the top and who's at the bottom, because the fear scarcity model, which is empire consciousness, predominates the culture and has since the very beginning. After the revolution in 1776, people did not have a revelation about love and connection and equality and abundance and sharing and communication. They didn't move from an outer revolution to an internal change of consciousness, which I call unity or oneness consciousness. Now, until the consciousness of the culture changes, it's going to be hard to eliminate bullying between children and adults. Now, adults are bullied also. Sometimes they're bullied in the workplace. Sometimes they're bullied in their social group. So bullying is not just something that has a negative effect on children. When you are bullied as a child, you feel abandoned, isolated, betrayed, and helpless. And those things can lead to suicide. We talk about the trouble that boys have these days in being in school. First of all, the model for learning, according to Michael Gurian, is not based on how boys' brains work, based more on a model of how girls' brains work. But beside that, boys are suffering because they hurt inside, because we have too narrow a view of what masculine behavior is. Until we redefine masculinity as the service-oriented masculine guy, or the community builder masculine guy, or the technologically expert masculine guy, and we have 7 or 8 different definitions, we're going to be stuck in the male masculinity trap of empire consciousness. And Herb Goldberg talked about it in The New Male in the 70s or 80s or 90s, whenever his first book came out, about men break, women bend. Women bend and men break. The blueprint for masculinity is a blueprint for self-destruction. So all bullying comes out of self-hate. And self-hate is that I'm not enough and I'm never going to be enough and nobody loves me. So lovability, knowing you're loved, lovable, and loving, is the core answer to bullying behavior. But we live in a culture that evaluates people about external things that they do, not for their inner being. Until that changes, we're going to have people picking on other people, taunting other people, hurting other people, and ultimately killing other people. As long as there's a hierarchy, there always are going to be people at the bottom who are angry about it. It's naive to think people can be subjugated to a low position and feel good about themselves. So what I want to leave you with today is, if we want to stop the violence against others, we have to create a more compassionate world, understand the suffering of victims, and really pay attention to how much pain there is. Because anybody who shoots in a mass shooting, anybody who does that is in emotional pain. Now, they may also be part of some kind of ideology that wants to destroy the world or part of the world. That also comes from not feeling good enough, lovable enough, cared about, and that this culture we live in is worth living in the way it is. So we've got to change the inside and change the outside both. We have to have revolution in a healthy way, and then we have to have revelation in an internal way. And that will make a big difference in terms of how many kids are being harassed, taunted, shamed, beaten, hurt, bullied. So that's my message today. We want to stop the bullying. We want to take it seriously. We want to realize how very, very bad it has been for many people growing up in a world that hates them, that wants them to disappear and not feel loved. How can you want someone else to feel loved when you don't feel loved or lovable or loving yourself? So it starts on the inside, goes to the outside, and then maybe we can have the kind of world that we say we want and we believe in. Thank you.